Hello, and welcome to my guide on Fufu, our latest stun agent with a small frame, a big personality, and a very aggressive portable popcorn machine. In this guide I'll go over Fufu's kit, W engines, drive discs, gameplay tips, synergies, and team options. If you find the guide helpful, please like and subscribe. Now let's get started. Fufu is an S-rank fire stun agent from the Yunkai Summit faction. She's essentially an off-field stun agent with a low but consistent days output. She's a very versatile agent with respectable personal damage thanks to her equipment build and core passive buff. She works well with most currently available attack agents, and while her gameplay is very easy to get to grips with, there is still room for optimization. Let's start by looking at her unique character mechanics, which dictates the flow of her gameplay. Fufu's gameplay revolves around two core resources, Might and Momentum, as well as her mechanical companion Hui. Might is tracked in Fufu's unique resource tracker under her portrait, and builds up through attacks from Hui, EX special attacks, ultimates, and expending momentum stacks, which we'll get to in a bit. Fufu can store up to 200 Might, but it changes to a molten orange color at the halfway point, indicating that it has become useful to us. With at least 100 Might, Fufu can trigger an Aftershock chain attack, either as an extension of a standard chain attack, or as a standalone attack followed by certain other abilities. This Aftershock attack activates Fufu's core passive, providing a team-wide buff, which is her main supportive function. Essentially, building and spending Might is the backbone of her gameplay, driving both her offensive and supportive functions. Next is Hui, Fufu's mechanical companion. Once combat begins, Hui becomes active, targets an enemy, and starts harassing them with fire damage. Each successful hit causes damage, daze, and generates Might. However, oddly enough, the fire damage does not contribute to anomaly buildup. During its attacks, Hui maintains a constant attack speed. But its attacks can be interrupted as Fufu uses Hui during some of her own abilities. The good news is that this interruption isn't a major concern. When Hui gets back on field again, it gains a burst of speed, starting its next attack quicker than normal. Now onto Momentum. This is a stacking buff that enhances Fufu's spinning state. The number of stacks available is only visible when Fufu is the active agent, but her resource tracker will always be burning when we have at least one stack, giving us information about whether or not we have any stacks even when she's off field. Momentum stacks up to 15 times and is generated by her EX special attack, ultimate, and assist follow-ups. The main purpose of Momentum is to trigger her enhanced spinning state, but it also helps us better control Fufu's Might generation. The synergy between Might and Momentum is what drives Fufu's autonomous playstyle, allowing her to build and spend resources from off-field while Hui takes care of itself. Now let's go over Fufu's very simple kit, starting with her core passive. In addition to providing continuous days output, Fufu's main supporting power comes from the buff tied to her core passive. When Fufu consumes 100 Might to trigger an Aftershock chain attack, she buffs the entire team with Tiger's Roar. This buff boosts crit damage, increases chain attack and ultimate damage, and grants Fufu a flat impact increase for the duration of the buff. There's also a scaling effect to the buff, which is tied to Fufu's initial attack. Once Fufu's attack exceeds 2800, every additional point of attack will increase the crit damage the buff provides, up to a maximum of 30% more crit damage at 3400 attack. With a max rank core passive and the buff effect fully capped out, Tiger's Roar will provide the entire team with a 50% crit damage bonus, just from this buff alone. Fufu's additional ability is activated when she is paired with an attack or rupture agent. When active, the team's maximum decibel is increased by 1000, and whenever an attack or rupture agent uses their ultimate, they gain 300 decibel. It's one of the simplest additional abilities we've seen in a while, but it's still a very useful buff for any agent who relies on their ultimate. Fufu's basic attack is a 4-hit combo, with the third hit being extendable indefinitely. Continuously tapping the basic attack button will quickly bring us to the third hit, during which Fufu takes 40% reduced damage. While in this continuously attacking state, Fufu can't move or change directions, but she will track and follow the nearest enemy. If we pause the tapping or hold down the basic attack button during the third continuous hits, Fufu will continue into the fourth and final hit of the combo. This hit slashes the enemy multiple times, with only the final slash being considered a heavy attack. This move can be swap cancelled as soon as the animation begins, allowing Fufu to finish the combo on her own. Finally, Hui's motion values are tied to Fufu's basic attacks, meaning the daze and damage from Hui's attacks will scale as we level up this skill. Fufu's special attack is a forward spin dealing fire damage. This attack is generally not recommended to use as it doesn't offer anything of value. Her EX special attack, however, is more important. It costs 60 energy to use, dealing significant fire damage and daze while generating 80 might and 3 stacks of momentum. The attack animation takes a few seconds to complete, but we can swap cancel it immediately on use, lowering the time commitment. Using the EX special attack will interrupt Hu-Wei's attack, but it also reduces the time until Hu-Wei starts its next attack once the animation finishes, meaning this is a very reliable combo for triggering an aftershock chain attack and activating the Tiger's Roar buff. Fufu's dodge, dash attack, and dodge counter are standard moves with no special effects. However, if we hold down the basic attack button after performing a dash attack, Fufu will leap onto Hu-Wei and start spinning. Colliding with an enemy in this state deals physical damage, and releasing the basic attack button causes Fufu to jump off Hu-Wei while it keeps spinning, homing in on an enemy. The spinning state is enhanced by momentum stacks, turning it into a high speed spinning state. With at least one stack of momentum, the collision damage turns from physical to fire damage and generates 25 might. On a collision, if Fufu has at least 100 might, she will first generate 25 might and then trigger her aftershock chain attack. If we still have more momentum stacks after this chain attack, keeping the basic attack button held down will return Fufu to the spinning state again, allowing her to continuously collide with enemies and generate more might. Releasing Hu-Wei while in this state will generate 25 might when it collides with an enemy. Lastly, while we have momentum stacks, if we enter the spinning state and swap to another character, Fufu will continue her spinning, attempting to collide with enemies autonomously as long as she still has stacks of momentum. Fufu's assists are standard moves, with her quick assist being a fast attack that deals fire damage and chains into basic 2. She has a defensive assist as well as a very strong assist follow-up, both in terms of damage and daze. On a 10-second cooldown, each time Fufu's assist follow-up is used, she gains 1 point of momentum. Fufu's ultimate is a large motion value hit of fire, both in terms of damage and daze. On use, she gains 6 points of momentum and 100 might. So we should make sure to not use this ultimate if we have more than 100 might and or 9 momentum stacks to avoid overcapping on any resource. As for chain attacks, Fufu has 2. Her standard chain attack, which occurs during a stun chain and deals a large amount of fire damage, and her aftershock chain attack, which is triggered through her might resource. The aftershock chain attack automatically triggers after a normal chain attack if Fufu has enough might. And as I've mentioned many times now, it is considered an aftershock attack, so we'll see the fire text appear on screen whenever it is triggered. This aftershock chain attack can also happen from off-field, and if momentum stacks are available, Fufu will automatically enter the high-speed spinning state after the aftershock chain completes. In this state, she'll attempt to spend all the remaining momentum stacks, continuously triggering more chain attacks for as long as possible. Finally, the aftershock chain attack recovers an assist point each time it triggers, synergizing well with Fufu wanting to use a lot of defensive assists to generate more momentum stacks. Now, before diving into Fufu's build options, I want to quickly mention another video I made where I explore how to reach the increased crit damage cap from Fufu's Tiger's Roar buff. While this may not be the direction everyone wants to take with Fufu, after all, there's a strong case for focusing on increasing her daze output instead, both approaches are valid. Personally, I prefer the consistently high crit damage she provides, so that's the angle I'll be focusing on in this video's build recommendations. I'll only go over the key gearing options briefly in this video, so if you'd like a deeper dive into the reasoning behind each choice, feel free to check out my other video on the topic. It's linked in the top right corner or in the video description. Now, let's talk W engines. Fufu's signature W engine, Roaring Furnace, is her best option as expected. At Refinement 1 and level 60, the engine provides 713 base attack and 30% attack as an advanced stat. The engine effect increases the daze output of the equipper's EX specials, chain attacks, and ultimates by 28%. It also grants a stacking buff when the equipper uses a chain attack or ultimate that deals fire damage. Each stack lasts for 30 seconds and their duration is calculated separately, providing a 10% damage increase for the whole team per stack up to a 20% increase with 2 stacks active. When it comes to raw stats, damage increases and the flexibility it brings with build options for Fufu, Roaring Furnace is in a league of its own. However, it's important to note that Fufu doesn't need this engine to fully unlock the power of her core passive's crit damage buff. This engine is fantastic, but it's not essential for Fufu, and certainly not a must-have. As always, only pick up the signature if you really want it. As for the A rank options, there's a bit more flexibility depending on preference, but my top recommendation is Steam Oven. It comes with energy regen as an advanced stat, plus the impact boost when energy is spent synergizes well with Fufu's playstyle. For more accessible S-rank engines, Koleida's Hellfire Gears stands out as another excellent choice. With higher base attack and its impact stats, it will always outperform A-rank engines. The extra base attack also reduces the amount of substats required to hit the attack breakpoint for Tiger's Roar, making it a great option for maximizing Fufu's crit damage. For Fufu's 4-piece drive disc set, the King of the Summit is hands down her best option. The 6% increase to daze to all attacks, along with up to a 30% team-wide crit damage increase, is just too strong to overlook. For 2-piece options, either of the 2 attack percent disc sets are solid choices, as they help reach the attack cap needed to max out Tiger's Roar. Selecting Fufu's drive disc main stats depends on whether or not we're using her signature engine. If we're going with Hellfire Gears or an A-rank engine, attack percent is the way to go in slot 4, 5 and 6. However, with the signature engine, we can opt for crit rate in slot 4, attack percent in slot 5, and either energy regen or impact in slot 6. Personally, I prefer the more consistent energy regen, but both impact and energy regen are perfectly valid options depending on what we want to get out of Fufu as a character. Fufu's substat priorities and stat goals remain the same regardless of which W engine is equipped. First and foremost, we need to focus on reaching 50% crit rate to unlock the full value of the King of the Summit 4-piece bonus. After that, we aim for a balance of attack percent and flat attack to hit the 3400 attack, which is the breakpoint where we maximize the Tiger's Roar crit damage increase. Once we've hit these key targets, we'll fill out the remaining substats with additional crit stats to boost overall damage output. Fufu's role in a team isn't that of a damage dealer, but with her buffing capabilities and the stats needed to fully optimize her crit damage buff, she'll contribute a solid amount of damage throughout combat. There really isn't much to say about Fufu's gameplay. Her playstyle is highly autonomous, and the risk of making any major mistakes is minimal. As long as we manage our resources well and avoid overcapping, Fufu will perform exceptionally with little to no effort. Of course, there are some small optimizations we can make, like avoiding interrupting Huei's attacks, or manually spending momentum stacks. But overall, most of our value comes from simply executing the basics properly. That being said, understanding how her resources work and knowing how to use them efficiently can still boost her performance. So let's go over Fufu's key resources and some efficient ways to manage them. Fufu's main resources, Might and Momentum, are essential for maximizing her damage, daze, and supportive power through Tiger's Roar. As seen in the list here, most of her resource generation depends on other resources, except for Huei, which has a cooldown between its attacks, which could be seen as a type of resource, I guess. While Might is spent as soon as we have enough for an aftershock chain attack, we have more control over the momentum stacks. Fufu will always try to spend any available stacks during her spinning state, but for better control of when and how the stacks are used, it can be better to cancel her spinning state early sometimes. Now let's go over some efficient ways to spend resources to maximize chain attacks. Starting off with a simple EX special into a swap. This gives us one chain attack, and is the fastest and most reliable way to apply and refresh the Tiger's Roar buff. Even when starting from 0 might, Huei will quickly attack after the EX special finishes, instantly triggering the chain attack. Next, use a defensive assist into an assist follow-up, into an EX, into a swap. This sequence provides enough might and momentum for 2 chain attacks. But keep in mind that there's a cooldown on gaining momentum stacks from the assist follow-up. We can only reliably do this once every 10 seconds. And finally, from 0 might, use an ultimate, and once the animation finishes, use an EX special into a swap. This combo will give us enough might and momentum to get 4 chain attacks in quick succession. All of these combos are extremely easy to perform with very little risk involved. Fufu won't take any damage while executing them, and our main damage dealer won't lose out on much field time since we can swap cancel the EX special animation so early. Though one move that can take a little bit of practice to get a feel for is to quickly be able to spend momentum stacks manually if needed. It's a very fast and efficient way to burn through stacks while dealing significant daze with some extra damage along the way. And here's how to do it. Start with a dash attack and hold down the basic attack button to enter the spinning state. Collide with an enemy, then immediately release the basic attack button to launch Hu Wei, who will also collide with the enemy very quickly due to the close proximity. Follow this up with another dash attack and repeat the process. The timing of this attack can be a little bit weird, but this trick allows us to essentially spend double the momentum stacks while also generating a lot of might. It might not be the most optimal choice in every situation, but it's a useful move to know. Yufufu's gameplay is very low maintenance and there aren't many steps to overthink. As long as we keep track of her resources and make sure Tiger's Roar stays active, we'll have a smooth experience with her. Keep it simple and Yufufu will handle the rest, providing both damage and support with impressive efficiency. Yufufu's squad options are incredibly broad. She pairs well with almost any current attack and Rupture agent that wants a lot of field time. As a generic off-field stun agent, she brings massive value to a team, especially for those that rely on dealing damage during stun windows. Thanks to her large buff to ultimate and chain attack damage, any agent who thrives off of stuns will get a huge boost from her inclusion in their team. On the side of the screen, I've put together some teams that will work well with Yufufu, but among them there are a couple of standout options. Yizhuan is the primary damage dealer for Yufufu, as their kits are very neatly complementing each other. The synergies between their moves, especially in terms of timings, along with the damage increases that Yufufu provides to Yizhuan's skills, make this pairing especially potent. That said, while they work incredibly well together, they aren't locked into being a required duo. Both agents are flexible enough to fit into a variety of compositions, with Yufufu simply providing a lot of valuable buffs for Yizhuan. Evelyn is another standout option due to her entire kit revolving around chain attacks. Yufufu's 20% boost to chain attack damage, her higher dispel, faster dispel generation, and the crit damage buff all synergizes very well with Evelyn's innate high crit rate. The value here should be very clear, making this one of the best team members for Yufufu. Soldier Zero, Ambi, also makes a good team member as she benefits a lot from crit damage. Her Silver Star effect also increases the damage of Yufufu's Aftershock chain attack, which adds value, though it's worth noting that this does not affect the day's output of the skill. Still, with how burst heavy Ambi is, she gains a lot of value from being grouped with Yufufu. Overall, Yufufu's versatility as a stun agent means that any character who wants to maximize field time and deal high bursts of damage during stun windows will find a lot of value in her support. With her straightforward yet powerful playstyle, she can neatly fit into most team compositions, increasing the damage and providing utility where it matters most. I'll link the infograph I've made for Yufufu in the description if you'd like to have a quicker overview of everything, as well as the video I made on Yufufu's gearing options. I hope that you got something valuable out of watching this guide. Like and subscribe if it helped, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.